Darklings! So this is part 4 of my book collection redo. And as I have to do, because there's too many books and not enough time, I'm going to kind of breeze through them a little bit. Hopefully you can kind of see what I've got going on over here. My nice leather bound ones are on the bottom. So these are pretty much my horror and whatnot. I kind of group my books by how they feel instead of by an alphabet, because I also have to kind of go by their size. So that's why my organizing for my books is a little eclectic. So down on the end We Have Always Lived in the Castle and The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, The Hell House and I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, Phineas Poe by Will Christopher Bauer, The Night Circus by Erin Morganson, In the Night Garden, In the Cities of Coin and Spice, and Deathless by Catherine M. Valente. I have Neverwhere, American Gods, and the Nancy Boys, Coraline, The Ocean at the End of the Lane, and Forbidden Brides of the Faceless Slaves and the Secret House of Night of Dread Desire, Trigger Warning, and Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. I also have Good Omens by Terry Pratchett, Neil Gaiman. The first 3 Discworld books, The Color of Magic, The Light of Fantastic and Equal Rights, What is Goth, and Called the Jersey Devil by Voltaire, or Aurelio Voltaire, not the French author. Gothic Charm School by the Lady of the Manors, Gillian Ventures. Isaac Dinesen, 7 Gothic Tales. This is actually one I highly recommend for those interested in early Gothic novels, which is The Castle of Otranto, Vathek, and the Vampire, and a fragment of a novel by Lord Byron. So that's a pretty good one. A Warning to the Curious by M.R. James. In a Glass Darkly by Sheridan M. Fano, or Lefanu, which I apparently cannot pronounce today, so I can't get the book back on the shelf. Sundays with Vlad by Paul Bibu. The Monster Show by David J. Scott, which I talked about kind of recently. Dracula's Guest, Who is Dracula, The Historian, and Transylvanian Superstitions, all of which I mentioned pretty recently. So this one, it's kind of more classics-ish. It's got Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained by Milton, The Divine Comedy, Hell, and for some reason Inferno. I don't know why I have multiple copies of this. Faust Parts 1 and 2 by Johann von Goethe, which I probably pronounced wrong. The Best Ghost Stories Ever, edited by Christopher Crovane, which I've had since elementary school. Introduced me to Legend of Sleepy Hollow and the Monkey's Paw as a kid. Maybe that's why I'm a little odd. The Screaming Skull and Other Great American Ghost Stories. The Phantom of the Opera, which I've read a few times and highly recommend, and it's why I'm so pedantic on the story. Anonymous, Sweeney Todd or The String of Pearls, which is the original Penny Dreadful collection. The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. The Count of Monte Cristo. Wuthering Heights. The Picture of Dorian Gray, because I have like 3 or 4 copies of that for some reason. Memoirs of a Geisha, Candide, or I don't know how to pronounce this, by Voltaire. The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. 1984 by George Orwell. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. Ender's Game, The Amityville Horror. So, fun fact about 1984 and Do Androids Dream, I decided to read those and Brave New World, because for some reason that copy is missing. And A Clockwork Orange all in the same month, so I just was on a dystopian kick because I apparently hate myself. The Devils of Louis-Dunn, which apparently I have that, but I don't have Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. The Stories of Vladimir Nabokov and Lolita. Slaughterhouse-Five, Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut, both of which I was really fond of in early high school. William Control's Revelator Part 1. Gris Grimley's Wicked Nursery Rhymes. A couple of R.L. Stein's Goosebumps books. The Werewolf of Fever Swamp and Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes, which I think I got from like a library book sale for like 10 cents a piece when I was like 8. The October Country, Fahrenheit 451. The Halloween Tree, Something Wicked This Way Comes. And A Memory of Murder by Ray Bradbury, who is one of my favorite writers because he's amazing. And then The Hobbit, The Two Towers, The Fellowship, and all the Lord of the Rings books, and Silmarillion are over here. Now these are mostly non-fictions. So Video Hound's horror show, which is 999 movies, slasher movies, 500 cult movies. So those are just my movie things. I also have, which I've mentioned on many occasions and is rather beat up, and I only have 2 to go, is my 101 horror movies you must see before you die, which got me into film. So I don't have 1001 horror movies you must see before you die because I just haven't got it yet. Monstrous Prodigy by, let's see, A History of the Frankenstein Narrative. I still need to read that. On Monsters, which I haven't read yet either. Real Terror by David Connell, which was actually really interesting. As You Wish by Carrie Elwes. I will get around to reading that. And the original book, The Princess Bride, at some point. The Horror Miscellaneous. Halloween, From Pagan Ritual to Party Night. Peter Cushing, The Complete Memoirs, which I'm probably going to be reading next. Vampira, W. Scott Poole. John Savage's England's Dreaming, which I've been meaning to read since college. Rip It Up and Start Again, Post-Punk, 1979 to 1983. Season of the Witch, How the Occult Saved Rock and Roll. Somewhere Leather, Somewhere Lace, which is actually really good and kind of funny because at least 1 or 2 of my friends is in this book. From the Velvets to the Voidoids, The Birth of American Punk Rock. The empty space right here is Cured, which is from Lowell Turnstith, who's a member of The Cure, and that's what I'm currently reading. I Dreamed I Was a Very Clean Tramp by Richard Hell. This one was actually really good. Who Killed Mr. Moonlight by David J. Haskins of Bauhaus, which was also really good, and I had him sign a copy. M Train and Just Kids by Patti Smith. I really like her writing style and it's inspired me a lot. Transformer, The Complete History of Lou Reed, and that's how I learned that I love him, but he's such an asshole until later in his life. May he rest in peace. I miss him terribly. Bowie by Wendy Lee. This is one of 3 Bowie memoirs I've read. Long Hard Road Out of Hell by Marilyn Manson. The Thief's Journal and Our Lady of Flowers by Jean Genet. William S. Burroughs' Junkie. I don't know why I don't have my copy of Naked Lunch in here. But I also have, And the Hippos Were Boiled in Their Tanks. And Jeroax's Subterraneans, because I haven't gotten on the road yet. Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And Perfume, which probably doesn't actually belong on this shelf, but is here anyway. Then this bottom one, we got the leather-bound one, so we got The Complete Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe, The Complete H.P. Lovecraft, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Other Stories, Fairy Tales from Around the World by Andrew Lang, The Complete Fairy Tales and Stories of Hans Christian Andersen, Classic Horror Stories, The Complete Sherlock Holmes, The Picture of Dorian Gray and Other Stories and Plays by Oscar Wilde, Wolfang's Mythology, because for some reason I have more than one of those. The Norse Tales, or what is it? Tales of Norse Mythology. Morte d'Art, which I've never tried to read, amazingly. I know very little about Arthurian legend. Ernest Hemingway's 4 novels. Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles, The Illustrated Man, and The Golden Apples of the Sun. And then Jane Austen's The Complete Novels, which I think is all 7 of her books, like Pride and Prejudice and Persuasion and everything. Anyway, that's the quick run through on this shelf. There's only one more to go after this, but in all likelihood, because it's me, I will have reorganized my books again and things will not be in the same place as they were in the previous video. Anyway, till next time, Darklings.